I wanted to add something about my thing about Bonnie and Clyde. I thought it was worth another video. Okay, and that was how it was that they were stopped and killed. Now, there's a little bit of a story behind that, which has some ironies in it. Okay, the governor of Texas at the time was Miriam, or called Ma Ferguson. She wasn't called Ma because she was a mother, although she was a mother of two daughters, but because her name was Miriam Amanda Ferguson, the initials being MA for Ma. Okay, now her husband was a very popular and populist figure, but he had been impeached and convicted. He was somewhat corrupt, and he was corrupt enough that he was actually barred from running for governor again. But he wanted to run for governor again. So, in order for him to run for governor again, he basically had her run for governor in his place as a kind of figurehead governor. Okay. And in fact, she acknowledged that he would be her advisor. Okay. And she talked about getting two governors for the price of one. On campaign trails, she would basically introduce him and he would make most of the speeches. Okay. However, the fact of, if you are the governor, even if you're basically a figurehead governor, which she was, you do have to make some decisions yourself. I mean, the buck stops where it stops. Okay. And, you are the official governor. Okay. Now, Frank Hamer, who was a very respected lawman at a time when you said lawman, not law enforcement officer, did not like the idea of having a female governor, even as a figurehead. I mean, he was very prejudiced against a woman being in that position, even if she was basically, just there as a puppet for her husband. He just didn't want a woman's name as a governor. And he campaigned very hard against Ma Ferguson for that reason. Just because he didn't want her, a female, as the official governor. Okay. Now, the Bonnie and Clyde were doing a lot of their robbing and killing in Texas, as well as, states around it. And Ma Ferguson, as official governor, had to be very concerned about it. And she was talking with her advisors about, how do we get this stopped? And she asked one of her advisors, who do you think is the best law enforcement officer? I guess lawman, law enforcement officer, I don't know what the phrasing was, to track down these murderers and stop this. And the man said, well, I don't think you would hire him, but I personally think it is Frank Hamer. But he was aware, of course, the bad blood between her and Frank Hamer. And she said something like, my main concern is with the decent people of Texas and their lives and safety. If Frank Hamer is the best for the job, he's got it. And she did hire Frank Hamer, despite her bad feelings towards him. Now, that was a good example of stateswomanship. Even though the Fergusons probably were corrupt, she did put the safety and welfare of the decent people of Texas above the bad feelings that she had to have towards Frank Hamer because of his having campaigned so hard against her. Also, another thing about this is it does illustrate the fact that, women's position is kind of dual in the sense of being both oppressed and privileged, because while Frank Hamer was, really upset about the idea of having a female governor, a female in a position of official power, he and his posse members were also very upset about the fact that they would be killing a woman, that they would have to kill Bonnie Parker. But, which does show that there is also a bit of protectiveness that you don't find in other oppressed groups. Of course, the thing about it was unavoidable.